Okay, now it's time to get to actually working with some of the polynomials. So we're going to add to polynomials today and subtract polynomials today. So there's a big difference between adding and subtracting. Obviously, you have to know which one to do. If you look at this particular problem, you can see that I have one polynomial plus another polynomial, which is telling you need to add to polynomials. Over here I have one polynomial minus another polynomial. Basically, you have to look in between the parentheses to know what it is you're supposed to be doing. You can't just jump to something. You have to actually look and see what it is they're asking you to do. So in this case, they're asking me to add, and over here they're asking me to subtract. So make sure you always check in between those parentheses to find out what's going on. Over here, adding polynomials is stuff we've already done, because all we're doing is combining like terms. It's just like there are no parentheses. So 8x squared and 7x squared are like terms. That gives me 15x squared. And then a positive 3 and a positive 10 gives me a positive 13. No more like terms, nothing else I can do. For subtracting polynomials, that's not exactly the way that it works. So when you're subtracting polynomials, this is still a minus. And we've talked about minuses in front of parentheses and how that changes everything inside that parentheses. So when I go to rewrite this, my front parentheses is going to stay the same because it's positive. But this minus has to change to a plus. And then it gets distributed to everything throughout my parentheses. So it'll be a negative 7x squared minus 10. So I change it to plus the opposite, and then that opposite gets distributed. So here I have 8x squared and a negative 7x squared. So that leaves me with a positive x squared. And then 3 minus 10 is a negative 7. Now, there are lots of people who sit here and say, oh, well, if I'd have just done it like the blue was before, everything would have been fine, because I'd have said 8 minus 7, because there's a minus there. 8 minus 7 is 1. And then 3 minus 10 is negative 7. And inevitably, they think they can get away with it every time. And sometimes they can. But most of the time, they're only going to see it before this one, and they're going to fall back on the 3 plus 10 is 13 thing, which is not correct. So if you always rewrite it, then you'll always get it right. But if you want to take a shortcut, help yourself. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all. I hope you're successful at it. I'm not always successful at it though, so I don't advocate doing that all the time. Let's look at another one. Here, I'll see if I can fit it down here. 6x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 6 minus x squared minus 8x plus 9. So here they're asking me to subtract. So that's like saying 6x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 6 plus a negative x squared. Negative times a negative is a positive 8x. Negative times a positive is a negative 9. 6x cubed, well, there are no other x cubed, so that one has to stay by itself. And then 3x squared minus 1x squared leaves me with a positive 2x squared. A negative x and a positive 8x leaves me with a plus 7x. And then a negative 6 and a negative 9 is a negative 15. once again, all these ended up being in descending order. If they're not in descending order in the back of the book, that's fine, because they don't specifically tell you that it has to be in descending order. But it's what's pretty in the back of the book. So that's what they're going to have for their pretty factor. So, I could give you a whole bunch more examples of this, but I figure you'd rather just go ahead and do it because it's not hard. It's stuff you've been doing forever, combining like terms. So I think you'd probably be fine just go ahead and doing the classwork and the homework. So classwork for this section, page 246, numbers 1 through 11 odd, and that is in the class exercises. Really? Okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine. You'll be able to figure it out. Numbers, homework. Same page, but the practice exercises. Numbers 13 through 21 odd, and 29 and 31. Nine problems, 10, 11. You might have a lot of homework coming up. What you do in this section? 11 problems. Ooh. Okay, so on Wednesday, it should be your Wednesday, we start multiplying and dividing. That's when things get a little more complex. So I will see you then.